Part of the reason I'm not voting is because I have literally no clue what would be better for the country if Trump wins or loses. I don't know the answer to that
Yeah.
question overall from like a general health perspective. That's why I'm not voting. I don't know the answer to that question. I think WandaVision is a good example of people seeing wokeness in it because they would look at the show and they'd say, okay, you have a show where basically the male characters who are more stereotypically masculine are portrayed as evil. You have the evil masculine military general guy, even though he's technically doing the right thing. He's trying to stop Wanda, who's basically being completely evil. And then the men that are considered more good are classically, I hate to use these terms, but are more stereotypically, passive or female in terms of kind of their characteristics. And the way that the show basically coddled Wanda, and they even had like a character, enter in the show and basically make excuses for the fact that Wanda is, basically being a horrible villain, mind controlling, all these people and inflicting horrible pain on them. And when this is called out by the show gives this excuse in the dialogue of like, well, you don't know how much Wanda has lost, as an excuse. And it seems like there's like just this weird attitude towards, gender roles in some of the MCU properties that I think people are picking up on.
I would kind of disagree with a lot of that
Yeah.
read. No, I don't think that the show excuses what she's done. The show, and very
No.
clearly, when you follow up with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that was just the beginning of this arc where she's going, she's losing it. She lost it, dude. Like, she is the villain in Doctor Strange. That was
Yeah,
just kind of
I'm
the
not
setup
disagreeing
for
with that, obviously, but that's a different writer, different director.
But I
But
mean, it was the plan. It was the plan from the
WandaVision
beginning.
was
Like,
pretty much set up to be like her villain origin story almost.
right. And also, it's like, to say it's evil, I don't, if you want to call it that, that's a way to judge it.
Well, I
Sure,
know
but
you
like,
don't like the word evil, but immoral, whatever word you want to
it's
use.
definitely immoral.
Oh
Definitely
yeah.
immoral. Definitely fucked up. I don't think the show at all or anybody is excusing that she mind controlled a bunch of people and stuff like that. I think what it was doing was approaching it with a sense of empathy for her mental state, which is different than if she was literally evil and deciding I'm gonna fucking do this evil shit. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like a villainous intent. It was she didn't fully understand what she was doing, and then once she did, she was just kind of so lost in it. And like I think that's actually a reflection of how sometimes people with mental health issues are treated in the real world. I think that's more what it was commenting on than any kind of gender thing. And also Vision, Vision, he was kind of just moping around a lot when he was in the show, but at the end he had a badass fight with the other Vision. So I don't agree that he was just like not doing anything manly or whatever, but he's a robot, so maybe it shouldn't apply.
The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
So what we're going to do now is just take a scan through their content, see what we can see. Now, if you kind of fashion yourself and portray yourself as a sort of centrist type person, like you're in the middle of things, right? You would think that you might have, I don't know, some balance in the content that you do and the guests that you have and stuff like that. So, did you guys see when Anna Kasparian, shit, like a year ago now, she did her left the left moment, and because apparently somebody somewhere was demanding that she say like birthing persons and shit like that, which is not something that, as far as I have seen or know of, is not something people demand on the left. Nonetheless, she left. I don't know if she left the Young Turks. I don't know. But like, she fucking went on Adam and Sitch's podcast. That's the biggest one that they've had in quite some time. Right. they used to get more views. They used to be more popular. They used to get quite a few more views. They've been pretty stagnant. Yeah, so when she saw the term probably on Twitter and fucking lost her shit. That's surprisingly, now it makes a lot of sense. I'm realizing it's perfect that she went on there because that's exactly what these guys do. Okay, so let's just check out what they like to cover. Criticizing Sam Cedar in this one, criticizing Big Joel here, the AOC versus MTG saga. Okay, well, they seem to be impartial there, right? I wonder if they actually are. We're not going to take the time to find out. Look, more anti-Sam Cedar shit. Jewish students are stealing my oppression with Breonna Joy Gray, who, look, you're not going to catch me defending her and a lot of stuff. Hassan Piker is a racist bully. Sam Cedar lies about Jewish people. Men, you suck. Ladies of the View go full mask off. Loses it on leftist co-host. Brianna questions Jewish DEI, but when Robbie questions all DEI, he's labeled racist. Crystal gives questionable advice. I'm trying to see if there's a pattern here. NPR whistleblower destroys woke NPR CEO. More NPR CEO stuff here. Destiny versus Ben Shapiro. Debate, the key to fixing everything. Okay, well, that seems... How DeSantis destroyed Disney in court. Okay. I wonder, man, they're just so fucking centrist, right? How the border crisis will cost Joe Biden the election. I mean, if you're framing things that way and you're not reporting in an honest way, and yeah, maybe. Beautiful train wreck. Review of the hilarious showdown between Alex Jones and Destiny. So what you're seeing, as I'm sure you're all seeing at this point, is a whole lot of criticism of leftist content creators, leftist political figures. Not even just necessarily leftists, but just some progressives, right? Hollywood gets caught lying about race issues. And then, okay, so right here, this might actually be them criticizing Matt Walsh, because that's the thing. When they say they're centrists and that they go after crazy shit on both sides or whatever, they will, on occasion, point out whenever the farthest right guys on YouTube, like Matt Walsh, who has said, "I am a fucking theocratic fascist." That's Matt Walsh. They will criticize him lightly, and they will not spend much time doing it before they go back to the left. Interesting. The Woke News Network takes a chainsaw to wokeness. So you may notice that these guys rely heavily on the word woke. Is there a specific type of content creator that uses woke a lot in their their thumbnails and their titles and stuff? I'm trying to think. Is there somebody like a certain type of guy that does that? How Thor director Taika Waititi hates on Marvel fans. They're Elon simps as well. Trump betrayed by his attorney. Weird position to take. Are centrists for sure. I don't know if these guys really believe it or not. If they could be liars, or they could be just so deep in the sauce of doing this content that they believe what they're saying. I don't know. We can talk about it later. There are people who believe they are centrists, but pretty much without fail, anybody that I've talked to that says that, it's because they're not aware of or incorporating certain facts and information that, in order to be fully honest and informed, you would need to. And that's how I stopped being essentially a passive liberal, was like learning to analyze things better and learning to, not because some ideology, not because wokeness got its fucking hooks in me or anything like that. I just started being more honest, or, forcing myself to be more honest about the level of information that I was consuming, and the lack of rigor and the lack of intellectual curiosity that I had for media and news for a long time. And then I was finally just like, look, if I care about these things, which I do, I care about these topics, I need to really fucking put the work in to find information, to analyze things, and not just be a fucking lazy passive piece of shit.
New sort of, I shouldn't say new, it's been sort of fermenting for the last handful of years, but I think it's really gaining prominence now, both in the very intellectual part of the American right, but also in the very fringe parts of the American right. And the fact that what I'm about to bring up is happening in both of those places, like people who we all in this room read, people with whom we are friendly, people with whom we admire are participating in this conversation. Also, the complete whack jobs, the people who I don't think should have any voice in our movement. I think that they're malevolent forces are also circling the same idea. That makes the idea, I think, something that we should talk about. And that's this idea that the American experiment is over. This idea that none of our institutions that have taken us through the last 2+ centuries on this continent exist anymore, that we can't find any solution to our cultural and political problems through the political system, and that perhaps it's time to look to older systems, strongman, monarchy, even dictator.
You guys catch that? Everybody catch that? This entire conversation that they have is essentially just tossing around the idea because, other people in their movement, their party, rather, are talking about it. Maybe this whole democracy thing's just kind of run its course, man. Like all this, the liberty shit that, we're all about. Maybe we just kind of don't be about that at all anymore. And we do a monarchy or a dictatorship or, yep, that's it. Right. Yeah. It's just, it's kind of like, it's not that that's the first time I've heard these guys or any of these people talking about this. It's that they're just having such a casual YouTube sit down conversation about it as if it's like a policy proposal. There we go. That's the setup. Yep. Always about it. It's the logical fucking end result. Right. So Sitch and Adam, to their credit, they covered this conversation recently. Cool.
Well, I don't think that this is why, we always get these arguments where I disagree with libertarians in our audience, where they try to put like freedom or liberty on like the left-right political spectrum. I'm like, no, it's like its own axis, because, you have a situation where like on the right, for some people on the right, there's a wanting to limit freedom for different reasons. Like, then they say, oh, I don't want people should not be allowed to get gay married. People should not be allowed to have gay sex. People should not be allowed to, I don't know, do something that is viewed as like degenerate, right? That is a limitation on freedom, whether you can agree with it or not. Obviously, I don't agree that there should be unlimited freedoms to do whatever you want either. But then the left, it's like, well, there wants to be a limitation of freedom in terms of, I don't want you to do something that is perceived as like racist or sexist, right? Or bigoted from that perspective. So like both sides want to limit freedom in just different ways. So I don't think either side has obviously you can have a conversation in the mainstream discourse about like one side generally seems to be a little bit more pro freedom than the other side. And in my opinion, it tends to be the side that is like outside of the cultural power, tends to be the more freedom side, because
the side that is outside cultural power tends to be the more freedom side. I mean, never mind the fact that that's kind of just like a ultimately kind of a nonsense statement. I understand what he's trying to convey. And he's ultimately saying that, because their view is that the left are the ones that have, cultural power, and there's like all this woke onslaught about, of course they use woke a lot. They rely heavily on woke. That's not really who has, it depends on what we're talking about. Culture is a really mixed fucking situation these days. Like the internet has kind of made culture a much more difficult thing to pinpoint. Essentially, they're doing to both sides because that's what they do. They're sitting here. The right. Okay, listen to me. Listen to me now. Believe me later. The right is doing every single fucking thing they've been accusing the left of doing, which is really, they typically just mean like goddamn Democrats, for years. They're doing it all. They've been doing it all. They've been saying that the left wants to fucking take away democracy. They want to end fucking America as we know it, end freedoms. I have never seen the third most popular fucking left-wing, even Democrat fucking aligned media outlet having a fucking sit-down conversation about ending democracy, man. Daily Wire is about the third most popular after like Newsmax and Fox News. Okay? That's not fucking happening. These guys are essentially mainstream, right? The third most popular left-leaning thing, I guess what the right would call left-leaning, I suppose, would probably be fucking MSNBC or some shit, like NBC or some shit. Like, that'd be like them sitting down having this conversation. No, they're talking about ending fucking democracy, man. To whatever limited, broken, fucking flawed, degree that we have it, right? Like, I'm not sitting here saying we got perfect democracy. We don't. But we got some. And some's better than none, I'd say. And then to just obfuscate and act like, well, the left is always wanting to take freedoms away too. What do they mean by that? You know what they mean by that. We want to say, hey, you shouldn't be able to fucking just use racial slurs all over the internet. Like, there's companies should support their terms of service. And let's not forget, that's often what they're talking about whenever they're saying that, like, the left or, the fucking corporate woke media is silencing me, they're censoring me. They're talking about a company that, maybe decided to enforce their terms of service for once. Then they somehow believe that has something to do with, like, leftist culture. You know what I mean? Leftists as in, like, radical leftists who they will often acknowledge. There's a lot of, there's communists, there's anarchists, there's people that don't like capitalism. And yet you're saying that what? They're somehow partnered with Alphabet, Facebook, whatever the fuck. Like, it's goddamn nonsensical. The funny thing is, the origins of the political right and political left are with responding to political conflict by defending institutional power or thwarting it. Yeah. So the left is, in a limited sense, kind of married to counterculture. Grifters and cults notwithstanding. Yeah. I mean, that's wrapped up in there somewhere, Terra story, but it's like, that's really not the end of the conversation. There's, there are, I hate to use this word, diverse strands of conservatism that are all tied up in this bullshit right now. You've got your libertarians, you've got your straight up fascists, and who knows what goes on inside their heads. Maybe a libertarian is just a fascist who's afraid to call himself a fascist. I don't fucking know how. It's like a bag of cats up there, I guess. Yeah, I was raised around that shit too, man. I mean, I'm very familiar with conservative Christians and how they operate and stuff like that. But, like, I'm gonna show you a clip. I'm gonna show you a clip here that's this is what really kind of got the ball rolling on me wanting to cover them finally weeks ago. Came across this shit where it's actually me and Bob watched this. So in this video, someone apparently in this conversation, I guess, had challenged Adam and Sitch to, basically saying, and good on them, whoever it was, that you guys cover the left a lot, and you say you're kind of centrist or you're, whatever, but, like, you don't often criticize the right compared to how much you okay, fucking great point. They need to hear that shit is every day, all day long. Their response was essentially, but have you seen the communists on Twitter getting likes?
I have no idea.
I don't even know if we talk about that.
We were blazing up.
Oh, that's weird. You missed that one.
We were covering the Barbie movie.
My feeling on this,
covering some dipshit culture war thing, and like black people did this or that or something.
There you go. Black people are
theft
doing
of CBS.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
See, I don't know if you know this, Adam. I don't know if you know this, Adam. But there are black people in America, and they're doing stuff. Okay, and we gotta cover it.
This is another thing about these kind of guys is that whenever convenient for them, they will just lapse into absurdism and, comedy. And often, just is right whenever it seems like we should actually be taking this part of the conversation seriously.
Why would you make that insinuation?
I'm just saying, why did you guys not pay attention to that one at all? That's kind of weird.
I will answer that question. I will answer that question. I just think it's funny, before we get into this whole, because we had a conversation with you in the past about, a lot of people bring this up. They say, why do you guys focus on the culture war stuff and all this other stuff? Meanwhile, we just found out, by the way, that like half of the leftist bread to people are totally fine with like raping and killing civilians. So the fact that you can never, ever, ever make this argument that like, well, why do you care about the woke left, Sitch? I don't know. You fucking tell me. When all these
that's a good one.
Twitter with fucking tweets that say, why do you care? This is decolonization. Get tens, if not hundreds of thousands of fucking likes for this shit. You can never fucking bring this shit up again.
Scary
ever.
shit.
Okay.
Scary
That
shit.
being said,
You're delusional at this fucking point.
You heard that right. His entire excuse for why they cover the culture war so much and not, the right and the straight up insane shit that the right has been saying increasingly so in volume and quantity for fucking years now. The reason that they don't focus on that quite as much, and in fact, they really defend it to a degree, is because apparently, and I tried to get, I did try to find out what tweets he's talking about, right? What tweets did he see that, and I'm not denying that there are absolutely, I went on Chariot and I had a conversation not long ago, and I was asking her about, some of the what I feel the unhelpful elements of the left online, which there's a lot of them. They're online and they're loud and they're stupid. And it's the reason why I don't generally associate with online left, kind of like groups, because every time that I've tried, I've ended up kind of rubbing elbows with like these fucking morons that prioritize their vanity labels, their niche hyphenated political, vanity label. I'm an anarcho, and it's like, I don't care. What do you believe, man? And then they will like do things like focus on the kinds of people that are like, well, Trump and Biden are basically the same. Those kinds of folks. It's like, look, man, you need to be able to operate with more nuance than that. There's a lot of shit wrong with Biden. A lot of shit. Okay. But to equate those two is basically you make your fucking opinion null and void, in my view. Right. Exactly. So there are people online who say dumb shit in every fucking camp, political stripe you can imagine. They're out there. For one thing, there are plenty of people. It's just true. There are people, probably fascists, reactionary types that pretend to be leftists to say crazy shit, right? I'm not saying that that's like the bulk of them. I'm not saying that. I'm just that's one element. Another element is a lot of these people are kids. A lot of the dumbest shit that you'll see is often just a kid. And that's not to say that they're too young to vote. Maybe some of them aren't or whatever. But I mean, they're often not living the life that they are fucking proselytizing about leftism and fucking praxis and shit like that. They're not fucking doing that shit. They know they're seeing the language and they feel like I'm rebelling, and I'm gonna use this revolutionary language. I'm gonna fucking blah blah blah. And then it's a form of privilege. You know what I mean? That some people they do that shit. And then there are people who legitimately believe really fucked up, harmful things about ethno-states and kicking the white people out of countries and genocides and it's there, it exists. But if you think that element of the population is the same in any way, shape, or form in terms of size, power, seriousness, as people who want to overthrow democracy because they want to really, what we're talking about when they talk about it is that they just want Trump to be king, man. They want to let Trump be king. And then whoever would come after him, because they crave power over anything else. And now that they've realized that the system doesn't really work for them anymore. Why? Because culture has moved on from them. By and large, that's why there is a culture war, because it's not really a culture war as if there's two equal sides fucking warring. No, they have antagonized culture for several years via the content that I often cover and, pretty much every other element of media you can find. They antagonize it. Fucking M&Ms. Not wearing they're fucking not wearing sexy shoes anymore. Right? You ever see shit like that and you're like, why are they fucking talking about this? It's because they want to antagonize every single aspect of culture, pop culture, the markets, and just, that's what the culture war really is, right? Because it's no longer working for them. And if they just sat it back and let culture play out the way that it, kind of generally had been, it was not, they were going to be extinct as like a political move. At least the conservatives, as we've known them, would have just gone away. And ironically, they have, because now they're this. Yeah. Also, it's worth noting that the biggest people that fit Sitch's description include Jackson Hinkle, who is also a conservative despite his lefty labels. Yeah, this is exactly what I was saying about, I don't give a shit what you say you are, because Jackson Hinkle says he's a fucking, lefty or whatever the fuck. And it's like, no, man, you are a straight up fascist. You have said some of the most disgusting he said shit that I feel like certain reactionaries would be ashamed to say. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it is. It is. I'm not to say that. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't believe in owing a debt of respect or gratitude to dead, slaveholders. Like, I don't fucking believe in that. No, I don't believe in owing any debt of gratitude to the founding fathers or whatever. But I do believe there is a seed of a brilliant idea in the founding of this country, that there is in there idea worth defending, and then also continuing to shape and mold to the reality in which we exist as time goes on. I just think that there is, it's democracy is a pretty good thing. I think that by and large, maybe not by and large, but to a degree, that's not insignificant. It has been a beneficial thing for many countries. I also think it's completely flawed in this country and many other countries, and needs to be refined, and things need to be ranked choice, one person, one vote. I don't know what it needs to be, but like things need to be better on that front. What's up, Ramon? How's it going, man? Breitbart always said politics is downstream of culture, but these descendants of his bullshit don't really seem to have any grasp of politics beyond aggrievement, which is very convenient for fascism. Yeah, it's exactly what fascism comes to power on, is a bunch of emotional greed, just resentment over people that you don't know, over misunderstandings of lifestyles that you have made a moral judgment on despite having no experience with it. That's generally what it is. I don't know what a trans person really is like, but I know that it's degeneracy, blah blah blah. I don't know what black people's culture, what their lives are like in Chicago or anything, but I know that I see the news coming out of there, and there's people killing people and stuff, and like that, it must mean they're bad people, or at least their culture's bad. That kind of thing. They don't want unions, infrastructure spending, high taxes, and reasonable home prices. Well, it's weird that they don't want high taxes, because they keep on voting for motherfuckers that raise taxes, tell them they're going to cut taxes, and then they do cut taxes, but not for the vast majority of the people that vote them into power. It's kind of weird, man.